Welcome to the Heartwork Podcast, where we delve into stories, struggles, and triumphs of entrepreneurship, leadership, and personal growth. I'm Dr. Sarah.
And I'm Dr. Marisa. We're here to guide practitioners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and those just navigating the complexities of life on a journey of discovery that explores the dance between passion and strategy, heart and hustle.
With candid conversations, insightful interviews, and plenty of laughs, get ready to uncover how leading with heart can transform your business and life. Let's dive in.
Welcome back to another episode of the Heartwork Podcast. We are thrilled to present this episode today because we have a guest joining us, Lauren House. She is coming all the way from Miami. So we've got Miami in the house. We've got Iowa in the house. We've got Tennessee and Knoxville in the house. And Lauren is incredible. She is a multi-million-dollar real estate agent operating across Florida, California, Arizona. But something that really sets in and made us really want to have her on the podcast, and what makes her story different, is that she really, truly is an example of someone who has built her empire after completely rebuilding herself from a place that a lot of us may have experienced feelings around, places that may be our rock bottom, our lowest points. After surviving a toxic relationship that really brought her to the edge, Lauren made a choice that changed everything. Instead of staying stuck in victim mode, like we know many people can, she decided to do a very brave thing. And that was looking in the mirror, recognizing patterns that we are unconsciously creating, and began the heart-wrenching but brutal and honest work of transformation. So what I love and Sarah loves about Lauren is her commitment to that radical honesty. She will tell you straight up that your looks might open doors, but it's your intelligence and your presence that build empires. She'll also let you know, real talk, if you are not willing to put in the work to change your life, she's got zilch, zero, nil compassion for your complaints, and she actually means it. She will hold you to that higher standard. So from Paradise Valley to Florence, Italy, we're definitely going to dive into that one, to then Manhattan Beach, and now running businesses in 3 different states, Lauren's path has been anything but traditional. It's been real, raw, and powerful. So we're so excited to have you here to share what you've learned about transformation, the heart work, tough love, and choosing to build something meaningful from the ashes of who you used to be. Lauren, welcome to our show.
Thank you. That was incredible and made me go down memory lane as you said all of that. So thank you.
We're here to walk down that journey with you. And so we are going to dive like right in. We're going straight to the heart. We're going straight to heartstrings. You shared with us that there was a point in your journey where you found yourself sitting on the couch, gun in hand, ready to call it. And something very interesting was the reason that you did it. And I want you to share that story with our audience. It was raw as hell when you were sharing it with us and incredibly powerful. So please walk us through those delicate moments, what was happening in your mind, and how did you move through that dark place to realizing that you in that moment had the power to challenge that and choose to rebuild everything versus tearing it all down.
Yes. So this might be tearful because I haven't really talked about this much, but yeah, it had been about 2 years in of my relationship. And after getting out of the relationship, I did a lot of research on like what the hell he was other than a monster. And it turned out from my diagnosis that he was a narcissistic psychopath. He definitely had characteristics of both. And so about 2 years in, I carry, and that's not what the gun is for, but I did sit on my couch with my gun because it just was like so unbearable to continue living in a place where it was like my existence meant nothing to somebody that I thought I loved. And it's hard to think like, how can you get out of it? And it was my cat, Bentley, who I think I have a codependent relationship with him, but it just was sitting there and he's sitting there with me. And it's like, how can I leave him? And I kind of walked myself through the steps of, okay, so this is probably going to be a little gruesome, but this is just what my thought process was, which was, okay, what happens if I shoot myself and I kill myself? What happens to him? Like, how long is it going to take for somebody to notice that I'm gone or they haven't heard from me in a while? And then it's like, am I going to like leave him food? Like, what? And then it was like, what if I shoot and I miss because there's recoil in a gun? So then it was like, what? I'm just going to lay there and have like a long, slow, even worse death. And then it was like, I cannot let somebody else take this from me. And this is so stupid. Like, I don't want him to win. I mean, as petty as that sounds, I didn't want him to win. And I just kind of went through all the important people in my life and like wanted to understand like what their perspective would be from me and like how much support I actually had, rather than just kind of taking the easy way out, if you will. And it was like something that I really had to think about all the paths. And a little bit of it was like the image that people would have of me. Like, that's not who I am, which also hit really hard when it's like, this isn't who I am. Like, I am extremely confident. I have no problem meeting people, friends, getting business, hitting on guys, whatever it is. And so to let one person just tear me down so small that like I wanted to be done on this earth it just wasn't okay. And so once I sat there and actually had like that real moment, it's like, okay, I actually don't want to do this. And of course, Bentley was the saving grace in the story.
Truly. I mean, I can't even imagine you having the even just capacity to have that conversation with yourself in the moment. There are so many people that are so struck and they are drowning in all the emotions just around the feelings of that one emotion and situation, that there's no capacity to think about any other outcome or walk through like, what does this reflect on me? What does this mean for my cat who's here? I'm going to pick it up. Or maybe they're totally alone in that moment and someone might hear that and be like, a cat is what brought you through, but like it's the cat that represented a conversation that you were able to facilitate with yourself about, hold on, like I am more than what I am feeling in this moment, and let me explore what that actually means. And it is those moments where we're facing ourselves that really can show us what we are made of. And so many people don't always have the capacity to really like go deep, or maybe they haven't built some confidence, they haven't built those other aspects of themselves that they can hold on to in moments of trial and tribulation as like personas and identities of strength. So just so much like grace and applaud and heart to you hearing that story. Like, I know Sarah and I just got teary-eyed and it pulled on our heartstrings because we believe that every life is worthy and is capable of so much. And look at the incredible life that you have built. Still doesn't mean that we can't be feeling and hurt inside. And so, gosh, just what an incredible conversation to be able to have with yourself. And what did it look like to actually move then from that space and from that couch? Like, what was the thing that you did next?
I feel like I blacked it out, to be honest. I know that I did eventually tell the guy that I didn't break up with him. Let's be real clear there. I didn't actually break up with him at that point in time. But I did tell him, and it was like it's an out of body experience because I felt like I told him to get a reaction, but that wasn't why I initially did what I did. And he had no reaction. Like, what? How do you like not care about somebody just told you like they were contemplating suicide because of you? That is wild to me. So obviously, for as rock bottom as that was, it just went up from there because at the end, I don't know how that happened sometime between like September, October, November of 2017. And then I finally broke up with him January. So like it was right there at the end. But I have to give him a few more chances.
How embarrassing. No, I have always had Sarah and I need to do like Maurice's trajectory of boyfriends and relationships throughout the years because I feel like those people, like we need to be honest sometimes about the things that we choose to allow in our lives, but they also help us build the frameworks to what we do want to truly and actually allow in our lives when we know ourselves well enough to hold that standard of self-worth high enough to actually follow through with it. So sometimes it takes a couple of those to kind of figure it out. Not all of us were born with like steady conviction that says, this is my lane in the highway and these are my boundaries, right? Some of us develop those as we grow and also as we change and evolve.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot. And because I didn't really have trauma before that, I didn't really understand who he was or like why he was capable of doing these things or treating someone that he says he loved in such a horrible manner. And so because of that, I just kept trying to like love him to be healthy and like lead by example. And I know it sounds super innocent and naive, but that's just, I didn't really know what else to do. So that was what I tried, which is why I stayed for so long. And on the other hand, I'm so glad that it was only 2.5 years because I know people who stayed for 8 years, for 13 years, married for 30 years. And it's like, wow, I got out so early. So thank God.
The coolest part about this conversation and I know just in the previous of us talking, you talked about not only after you left him, and I'm curious too, like the business side of things, we can talk about that, while also navigating relationships again after something like that. And the biggest thing too, I think so many times, I hear this, like where we can place a lot of blame on people, which 100%, he had his path. He did the things he did to put you in those situations. And I love how you talked about, though, how you could actually look yourself in the mirror at the same time, because we can also like attract certain things until we do our own work so that we're not putting ourselves into those same type of situations. So what was the like journey about the self-recognition part for you where you really got to land about what was it and like that moment for you to say, hey, I matter more, I am more, and I deserve more, but I'm also not going to settle for anything less?
Are you referring to dating afterwards or actually getting out of that relationship?
Well, let's do both.
Okay. In the relationship, it was a total God moment. I slept with my phone by my head when I was with him because I never knew where he was, or if the police were going to call me, his mother was going to call me, a friend was going to call me because nobody knew where he was. So I slept with my phone on high sound by my head. The main problem in our relationship was his ex-girlfriend. And the ex-girlfriend would send me emails, nasty emails. I just slept with your boyfriend. I just effed your boyfriend, whatever. And like, again, I allowed this. It was like I couldn't clear my eyes. I was like, is this really happening? Like, what is going on? And so she was blocked on every platform, social media, email. I didn't have a phone number, but she was blocked. And I'm sitting there reading my book, and I get a sound on my phone that I've never heard before. And I look over, and it's her name through an Instagram message. And it says, your boyfriend's coming over tonight. And it was true. He had been out of town. He had come home late. So I FaceTime him. He didn't answer. And then he called me back and blah, blah, blah. And like, I'm screaming and yelling and being the ugly monster I was with him. And the fact that I went into Instagram to go find it because I wanted to snapshot it and send it to the guy I was dating, the message was nowhere to be found. Like not in primary, not in general, not in requests. And I thought I was going crazy. And it was like a few days after that, I broke up with him. And it just felt like that was the final straw. And I know what I saw. Like I will never forget. And I call it the spell was broken. Literally that happened. We got in this last fight and I was done. It was just like a very nonchalant, I am done with this relationship, which he heard that. I counted 32 times in 2.5 years. And that was all I could count because at some point you lose track. And I just received like a bombarding of mean text messages. Like, how does it feel to be without me? And, just shit that a narcissist says. And I felt nothing. And it was crazy. Like, how can you go from 2.5 years of like this horrible relationship where I couldn't get out of it to like, I have no feelings for you. So that was number one. Dating afterwards was quite interesting because after a month, I thought I was ready to go on dates, which no offense, but nobody's ready to go on a date after a month if you've been in a relationship, especially a disgusting, toxic one for a while. And the next 3 guys over the next 6 months that I attracted were all kind of mini versions of him. Like they all had the ex-girlfriend in the picture, which I thought was so weird. And after I got to the third person, it was like, what is going on? So that's when I'm being celibate. I'm not going on dates. I am starting over. I'm pushing the reset button and I needed to heal. And that's kind of when I got into like spirituality and understanding cards and stones and psychics and working on intuition. And, what the biggest thing I learned from that was you can only heal so much until you're put back into the situation that triggers you. So after, we'll call it, I think it was almost a year, like I didn't date, I was celibate. And as soon as I started dating again, I wasn't attracting the same person, but things that I thought I healed were triggering me. Like I call and they don't answer and I get triggered. I'm like, go spinning out. And so those are the things that it's like, okay, well, I need to take a step back because clearly I'm not ready to date. And this is what I now need to work on. But like, how do you know what is going to bother you until you're back in the situation?
Mm-hmm. That's it's funny. My husband and I were actually just talking about this in ways where when something triggers you, it's such a beautiful picture of like God or universe, whatever, like tapping on your heart to talk to you about something, right? And like, what a huge gift to be aware when those triggers come up and when things pop up, and not to necessarily always be afraid of them. To like what you said, like sometimes you have to go in to be able to heal through. And so like, not that you need to go put yourself in horrible dating situations to be triggered to be able to heal through something, right? But at the same time, to be able to understand when things are popping up, to be able to give yourself pause, a moment of understanding to say, why is this coming? So that in turn, I can have more clarity about what is trying to be spoken to me and what truly is trying to be healed through me at the same time. Mm-hmm. I love how you brought that up of like, so you have to like go in it to a certain degree.
Yeah. It's hard. I feel bad for anybody who has to go down like a major healing path, because it's long, it's tumultuous. You're changing, the relationships around you are changing, and you're just so like lonely and sad and angry. And there's so much shame in it because like, if you talked about it with anybody, like they know what happened and now you have to deal with the aftermath. It's just brutal, but it's worth it.
So worth it.
It's totally worth it.
It is.
But you don't know that till the other side.
Yeah. What do you feel like was the biggest shift for you? Like, what do you feel is like one of the biggest like healing moments that you really embodied for like your truth?
Just being comfortable being single. I feel like that's the biggest thing, the most important thing that somebody can do for themselves. Like, when you meet somebody and you're like, oh, you're way too good at being single, right? It's because they're so independent. They have no fear, whether it's traveling or saying no to things. Like they just know who they are. And that is such a hot superpower to have. And it takes a lot to be there, especially when you're coming out like of that type of relationship where I felt that anybody, not just him, I felt like anybody thought that like dog shit on the bottom of someone's shoe was more important than me. I had no confidence because it just rips you apart. So then you have to rebuild. And it was just kind of little milestones along the way. I don't really remember anything significant, but I call it the black heart. And the black heart is when you are numb and dead on the inside and you're able to like go through the motions, but you don't feel anything. Like you can show up and smile for a picture. You can show up and laugh with your friends, but you don't feel anything, right? Like your body can still blink and breathe and sleep if you're hammered and blacked out. And it's kind of the same thing. Like you have this black heart. Like I only wore black for many years because I just like wanted to be invisible because I didn't know who I was anymore. When somebody takes that from you, like there's just no way of knowing how long you're going to be in that shitty space for. And so finally it's like you go and you have something like a drink with a girlfriend and you have a laugh and it's like, oh, I can feel something again. Like my black heart is thawing out. And I've told this like theory that I made up to some girlfriends. And over the years, since this happened in 2018, they've called and they've been like, dude, I have a black heart. And it's like, you just cry with them. Like, I know where you're at. And I'm sorry that whatever you're going through, like makes you feel like that because it's so awful to just exist, but also be like evolved enough to know that you're not just existing because you can feel it all. And so when you can start to get that little bit of life back and your heart just feels like not iced out anymore, those are the shifts where it's like, I don't even know what could spur it. Sometimes it's just time. So yeah, that's my black heart theory.
I love your black heart theory. I love, and I also love that it doesn't have a timeline because healing doesn't. Like,
Mm-mm.
I'm, yeah, there's someone close in my life who's going through a healing journey from their own relationship after 10 years. And it's like, it's hard because you're processing things. So I feel like sometimes as women, as emotionally intelligent human beings, right? Like we're in relationships and we do continue to stay in them to give it our all. And it's like sometimes when we're really ready to leave, it's like you are more emotionally like disconnected from that person, kind of in the way that you shared. Like that switch hit, the spell was broken, and you were like done. Did that mean that we were emotionally healthy to walk into a new relationship? Not necessarily, but we were emotionally prepared to leave the last one behind because we felt that we gave it our all, right? But that doesn't mean that we are actually processing the end now of that relationship and everything that comes along with that. And whether it's a relationship or whether it's another situation in our lives, one of the hardest things can be those people that are close to you, that are recognizing that you have that black heart or that incapacity to really truly be present because there's just so much that's processing, and having people want to support you, but not really knowing how. And all you need is time. But then some time goes by and you're still processing it, and other people have moved on in their lives. And then they're kind of wondering why you're still bringing it up, but you're still going through the layers of depth and healing. And it's like, how do you work through and navigate? Like you said, there is a bit of isolation that comes with it, right? Because only you can do the processing. Only you can do the inner work, even if you're being assisted, guided, working with a therapist, working with reading and resources and things. But you're kind of also outgrowing the person you were, which might also mean you're outgrowing the people that were your support system in search of new support systems, which may be just more people that have understanding or have been through that journey that give you that grace of a lack of timeline, because there really isn't a one size fits all in that healing journey. So how do you navigate giving hope and like, hey, there is a light at the end of this tunnel, and it doesn't matter if it takes you 1 year or 5 years, just as long as you put the foot in front of the other every day. How do you encourage that person?
You can't give up. No one's going to fight the fight for you. No one's going to heal for you. And you have to be willing to go through it, because you have to know, not hope, but you have to know that everything you are doing will be rewarded. And finding people who understand, and like you said, people shed as you evolve. And now all these new people come into your life that is speaking to you on a totally different level. And maybe you feel comfortable enough to share your deepest, darkest secrets, and maybe you don't. But at least they're on a new wavelength that you're on. And I feel like if you can just be open to that and allow somebody else to help you through and not be paralyzed by the fear of like, this is what it means, whatever you attach to it, I guess would be the right way to say it. You just have to know that it's going to be worth it. And I know it's really hard to say that, because if you aren't on the other side, you don't know that it's worth it. Like you don't see the results of the hard work you've put in. But here we are. What year is it? So 7 years later. And it's, like I'm doing another phase of it today, talking about it out loud to people that I'm like terrified for this to go out, because I've never talked about it, but it's like, I want to help people to understand there is a million other things to do other than to contemplate suicide. Like that's not the right answer. And there's always going to be something, but you have to be brave enough to help yourself. And here I go, having no compassion for anyone who doesn't want to help themselves. You have to want it. You have to want it. It's like breathing. If you want to breathe, you have to do it. And I think everybody can tell you, fair warning, it's fucking hard. There's no other way around it.
Oh, but you hit it. It's so true. Like nobody can give you, there's not like one thing someone can say that's going to pull you through. It's the way that it hits within you that triggers you to actually have that motivation and desire. Like anything, right? Any habit, any desire, any dream, any vision. Because if it's not fully from yourself and you do borrow it from someone else and don't fully embody it, you tend to come to a later point where you realize, again, you've just embodied someone else's vision for your life, not your own.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Okay. We're moving through life. We're talking about business. Let's pull it in. Sometimes our looks, if we're an attractive female human being, we can also attract in other kinds of attention. So we're not just maybe attracting in some things we need to continue to heal, but just in life, we might be attracting people that are wanting something from us that we didn't necessarily ask for. So when you've talked about business and navigating relationships, interpersonal ones, professional ones, quote, I do not want business from men who just want to bang me. So, how do we set boundaries without apologizing for who we are, wearing what we want to wear, and showing up as the incredible human, women, female, attractive, lovely, energetic, vibrant human beings that we are?
I'm funny. That is exactly how I feel. Like, I have tried everything, right? Like, I still have a fake wedding ring that I wear. The problem is, like, I do have a boyfriend now, but when I'm single, I have to like make up this avatar of somebody that I'm dating. And then I feel like a liar. And then I feel like I'm going to get found out that I'm a liar. So I'm like, okay, I just need to develop this skill. And, you know, when a man asks you, hey, we should go for drinks, I want to show up as business Lauren. Like, and those are different clothes. That's a different attitude. She's showing up 15 minutes early. Like, there's no smiling or flirting. I'm probably not even going to have an alcoholic beverage versus like casual Lauren who's going to show up and if this is possibly a date. So I came up with this line that was, are you asking me out on a date or are you asking me out for business because I need to know how to show up? And almost nobody responded. And then I would have like a few that would be like, hell yeah, I'm asking you on a date. I'm like, okay, just because of that great response, I'll go out with you, even though I know I had no interest. But I would still go because they actually responded to the question. And that was one filter. Number two is when it comes to business, it's always buyers, it's never sellers. If you sell real estate and we're an easy target, we get to go spend time with you. We're going to spend time on the phone with you, in person with you, probably have a meal with you. And men know that. It's like this weird unknown thing. And they call you or they were referred to you and they start asking you and they want to see stuff and they spend this time with you and you think that like you're trying to get business out of them and they're trying to like do whatever they want to do. They obviously don't disclose it. So you're always going to be going in two different ways. And I think it was like 2016, maybe I had like 27, 28 male clients. And it was every time I would do my follow-up calls, they'd be like, so how's your boyfriend? Which was the toxic one at the time. And I actually had someone to talk about. And so, but I always thought to myself, like, why is this person asking me about my personal relationship? And so one day I just said, I am done. I'm not working with any of them anymore. Two of them actually became clients and everyone else I never heard from again. And I just sat there in meditation and said, I just want to work with single females, couples, and families. That's it. That's all I'm willing to work with. And so if I would get a request from a single man, I would be very aggressive right up front. I'm like, do you have proof of funds? What's your timeline? And I would bring in a male counterpart and I would put us in a group chat. And guess what? The man disappears.
That's a powerful thing, just being obviously not only when you're in a relationship and also being then a single female trying to like build something freaking beautiful to make like moves and rhythm. And I opened my practice as a single female at the time too. And I can't tell you how many times I was networking, I was out and it was just like these like sleazy men almost. It's like they're trying to like experience something with you outside of just business. And it's like, you really do. You have to set boundaries for the sake of your own like self. And at the same time, like, for me, like I wasn't like out trying to like network myself to become in a relationship. I was out networking my business, you know, I'm like, my business baby matters more than being in a relationship right now, you know? And so like, like it's wild how, yeah, just a beautiful opportunity to set some healthy boundaries.
It's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
What did you do?
Similar. I feel like when I show up in rooms sometimes, I don't know what it is. I'm tall also. I feel like sometimes like men are a little scared of me for a little bit. To where I was like, I'd walk into a room and it's like if they were curious, like I typically would be like similar, like, are we talking about actually business? But the minute that like somebody would ask if they could buy me a drink or any of that, that's when I put up my guard. Cause same, like if I'm going for business, I typically am not going to have a drink in that type of setting. I'm like, is this going to be casual or like a business type setting. And so I just feel like I had like these invisible walls up anytime I was out networking or doing that type of stuff, and just also had to just be very clear with people if they were going. I'm like, I'm not really interested. And I don't know about you in this setting. Like, I feel like back then for me, a lot of them were either sure, like it's kind of like the young business individuals, but some of them were also a lot older. So it's just like I'm not interested in this type of setting right now. So
I just had one guy who's, talking. And at the end, he's like, so we should go out for drinks because he was a developer. And I was like, oh, I'm happily married, right? I didn't have a ring on. I didn't say anything. And he was like, okay, we should go out for coffee. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Did you just try to like cover up your intention with coffee instead of a drink? I mean, just so dumb. So dumb.
You should just carry it through, right? Like, yeah, I meant drinks to celebrate this business relationship, Like, invite your husband, like just carry it through and then pretend you're busy later, right? Like,
totally. Like,
yeah, I think sometimes the brain cells just like are a little different. Don't think about the follow through.
Totally. It was pretty funny, but I just, like, I mean, A for effort for sure, but like also respect me, the fact that what I just said. Yeah. So it doesn't end. Doesn't matter whether you have a fake wedding ring, a real wedding ring. It doesn't matter. Guys are going to try, which I guess I can't blame them. What do you, that they want something from you. And I'm sure somebody's in a crappy enough situation to say yes, or they're single, or maybe there really is an attraction. So you can't blame them, but it gets old. I hate to say that, but it gets old.
It does. But let's tie those two pieces, like this story together, because, right, like we go through something really big, or maybe we're going through something in our life and we're doing the inner work while also having to show up. We are all entrepreneurs for our business and for our livelihood and our life, especially if we have left relationships, like we're independent. And so we need to support ourselves. How do you work on showing up in a way that's creating boundary and understanding that while you're also trying to do the inner work and just figure out who you are, showing up as your best self, but maybe having more of that black heart that we're trying to slowly peel the color from and like become vibrant again? How do you marry those areas of life, right, together as you're continuing to navigate yourself while also navigating how you're wanting to show up in the world?
It's hard. It's super hard because you have all the shit going on behind you. And you have to show up as a professional who has all your shit together. And I'm a very much like wear my heart on my sleeve type person. But at some point you learn to compartmentalize. Like I know how to step into business Lauren, business mindset, business personality. And it's a lot easier because it's not a triggering thing. I'm considered the expert. I'm considered the person that people are coming to when they need something when it comes to real estate. And it's like such a comfortable realm that I think it just feels safe. And so as far as like leading, I had a team, I've had assistants. It's once I understood what projection was and how heavily everyone projects, it helped me understand that like I need to see things through other people's perspectives. So like anyone who works with me, I give them personality tests so I can understand, their love language or what color they are, or all the different love, their self-sabotage, all that kind of stuff. And I give it to them so I can understand. I don't do a great job necessarily at speaking to them in their language, but now actually something I've incorporated into my business, which has helped a lot, is when I have something hard to say to somebody, I ask, how do you like to receive information? And most people laugh and they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, do you need it fluffy? Do you need analogies? Do you need storytelling? Do you need it direct? And every person just is like, oh, I want it direct for sure. Because I want to make sure that they're understanding what I'm trying to say in their lens. Because it's hard to deliver information and it's hard to be a leader, whether it's with people who work for you or with your clients, if like you're speaking two different languages. And so that's been super helpful and people are very caught off guard by it, but I kind of like it and I'm going to keep using it because it helps the conversation have a more free flow. And so when I'm direct, they know that it's business and they're not taking anything personally.
for sure. Can you give us a context of like all this type of stuff happened and also like what was happening in your like professional life at the same time? Like all the craziness of the suicidal, were you still showing up selling real estate? Were you doing all the traveling that you're doing? And or at the same, was it just not? And then out of the relationship, then everything just exploded. What was kind of the rhythm from the internal to the external?
I had a business partner during that relationship. And yeah, it caused a lot of fights, that relationship. And so my business partner and I ended up splitting up. We are still very good friends, and her life took a different path anyway. So I don't really know if her life path would have split us up, but we definitely like things got rocky between us. She didn't want to work with me anymore because I was bringing so much yuckiness and black energy to the table, and I would talk about them all the time. So it just was like I had her telling me that it needed to be over. I had my family telling me it needed to be over. And then I'm trying to like still get a business going. Meanwhile, I'm chasing this idiot around town, trying to make sure he's not effing cheating on me. And then neglecting my cat on top of it. So it just was like everything was terrible. And I remember my brother specifically said, he's like, if you dump it, business will improve. And it just didn't hit me. I wasn't ready to hear it yet. And when I dumped him, it was like I had the time and energy to put into my work. So yes, of course, it was like an uphill progression from there. But it's hard for them not to be hand in hand. If you're a business owner, you don't get to put it to bed. You got to keep going, and you still have to show up and be happy and pretend.
I always say, like, who we are as humans, as you're healing, if you're bleeding, you're going to only bleed into your business, and it's not always easy to be in that space. And at the same time, like you said, it's messy, it's kind of crazy, while at the same time, like you said, I still had to show up. Like, we're in service-based industries as well, like, and you are to a certain degree. It's like you're literally showing up to serve human beings, to like purchase and sell homes, and I'm sure at other capacities within just any aspect of real estate. I can't, like, you're walking into somebody's home, into somebody's like safe space, and we're dealing with people's health, and like at the same time, so like there is this aspect of giving of yourself even when you are doing the work, and there is this like dance a little bit of, okay, when you are doing that extra healing, there has to be still this capacity for us to understand, like, you got to give yourself the grace and moments outside of all the busyness. I also do know, like, my practice too is like the same thing of like in the business I was building, it's like it was a safe space. Like, I could come and be my authentic self there because it's what I knew, and it's what I knew to be true as I've been doing a lot of the healing work too. So I'd be curious now, like, 2000s on, what does business now look like for you? And as you've led, like, how is Lauren different now comparable to back then?
I have learned a lot in business, and I don't know if you guys believe in numerology and spirituality, but 2025 is 9, which we're at the end of a cycle, and we're going through a whole new transition right now. I'm in another place. I don't know where I'm at, but at least it's not stemming from destruction of somebody else tearing me down. It's just stemming from, I think, like this energy throughout the planet at the moment. And so I expanded from Scottsdale to Miami in 2022, and it's been a long, hard journey. In the spirit of being truthful right now, it's been a long, hard journey. A lot of self-doubt and uncertainty has crept in, and like, who do I think I am? Why am I doing this? What do I have to prove to people? And I thought that coming to another city with the finances in place and the knowledge would really like set me up for success. And it just hasn't. I don't know if like Miami is just like not the place for me, or if the real estate market's just very different here. I also don't speak Spanish, so that, doesn't allow me to work with a lot of people. And so it's been a really interesting, hard year of just not having a lot of faith at the moment. And it's kind of like I actually go back to that time of healing in 2018, 19, 20, and just thinking like, dude, if I could get through that, I can get through anything. Like, and I use that as a comparison all the time, because nothing will ever be that hard on me ever again. I can handle anything. And I think that's like part of the superpower of moving forward, is like when you're on the other side, you are still going to have breakdowns. You're never going to be perfect, but you at least have like the knowledge and the comfort of the rearview mirror to say, I can do this. And it gives you more confidence to move forward, because you're like, oh yeah, I can, I'm cool. Like, I'm good. Nothing is going to be that bad,
100%. There's, as you were talking, I was really reflecting on your story, and there's obviously like you were so vulnerable in those times in those relationships and in that place. And so sometimes from that, we build up the walls, right? Because we have to protect ourselves. So we go into protection and we go into guardianship. But then we're also moving to a new area. So we have to be vulnerable again. And now here we are. And you're like, I thought I had these things in place, but it's not quite working out the way that I had intended and planned it to work out. And so, how do you then, again, avoid the protection and like, okay, hold on, like, what do I need to do to make sure like I'm safe, I'm good, I'm okay, like it's not working out the way, what do I need to redirect while also being vulnerable enough and open to receive perhaps what that's trying to share with you, right? Because again, in the way that you share that you're into spirituality and numerology and astrology and just learning yourself, I don't know if you know your human design, or if where are we?
Human design. I'm drawing a blank at the moment.
Projector, manifestor, manifesting.
Manifesting generator.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're working and we're also like dreaming about that. So where do you find that beautiful balance of like, okay, well, I'm doing this and I'm giving this all my all, while also being open to receiving like what could potentially be coming next and what that looks like for me. Where does that put you right now in this space?
Yeah, it's kind of like when you're in that shitty relationship and you know that you should leave, it's really hard because you're emotionally attached. But when you're in business and you know that you need to make a change, it's easy because your finances depend on it. Your reputation might depend on it. And so the ability to identify and evolve, change, transform in business is much easier and much quicker. Like the timeline is shorter from start to finish. Obviously, you can't try something for a day and say it's not working. Like you have to give it some time, but you're less willing to give it a million chances to get to the outcome that you're looking for versus when you have the emotional attachment to something. It could be business, I guess. That is what keeps you in the loop that you can't leave. So it's just been a lot of trial and error being in Miami with, going to networking groups, having different group of friends, trying anything I can, anything I would say I was invited to, I would just say yes. That's pretty much how my life was. And nothing really came of it. So now I'm cold calling. So talk about being vulnerable. I have decided to start a new skill almost 20 years into the business, and it is not fun. But it's kind of just like I'm a I have to win person when it comes to being in competition with myself. And so now it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to lose to myself and not do what I said I was going to do. So now it's just like I got to get the skill down and I have to get to calling and make it happen because nothing else was working. And so, yeah, I mean, they're hard conversations you have to have with yourself, even in business, because you don't really want to admit that nothing's working and you don't really know where to go when you know something that works so well now isn't working. It's a weird place to be.
For sure. How do you manage because you still have a company in Arizona and in Miami at the same time, right? So how do you manage and like, what have you put in? Let's just like talk some practical stuff because I'd be curious from you're literally like states away from each other.
Yeah.
How do you manage the two different entities, or whether it's probably the same entity, but two different businesses in two different states, team, all that type of stuff, energy? How do you manage all that?
Yeah, the time change is the hardest piece for sure. Because at 5, 6, 7 o'clock in Arizona, it's like bedtime in Miami. So that has been the hardest thing for me. So I usually have to bring someone in on a deal so that my clients have somebody to talk to at night in Arizona. And I would say that's the biggest thing, is trying to find somebody, because I need somebody who's on my level and who can handle the workload that I have. But at the same time, like, it's really hard to teach somebody, hey, this is how I treat my clients, when they're a seasoned agent themselves. So having a business partner in place has been crucial, and I have one in both cities. It's a lot on the body to fly back and forth. I really thought this was going to be glamorous, and it is not at all. We'll just put it like that. Like, it's not. I thought I was going to sound so great, and I was so excited for the adventure. And then I got here and I was just like, okay, this is like totally not what we romanticize everything. Let's be real. Like, when you don't have the experience, you romanticize it, and then it happens and you're like, this is not how it's supposed to be. So it hasn't been a bad experience. It's just been a lot different than I thought, which requires a lot of change. So yeah, I've definitely learned a lot. The homework I did up front did not foreshadow what I would be experiencing.
What is like your big vision? What is your hairy, audacious goal? Like, if ever, like, what is it that you want in 5 years, 10 years time? Where are
I
you?
mean,
Where are you going? Where are you striving for? What's gonna fill? What fills that cup just in the day?
I will be in Europe.
Go
I would be in Europe.
back and
Yeah.
forth. You haven't touched on
I
it.
mean, ideally not. Now that I know how hard it is to like travel this much. Yeah, no, my goal is to live in Europe. I lived in Italy my junior year of college, and it was the best year of my life. I learned so much. I grew so much. I learned a language. So I've always just wanted to get back there, and it helps that my boyfriend is from Europe. So he also wants to get back there. So that will be where we will be. And we just have to figure out kind of what that looks like. You know, is it investment properties or is it cold calling from afar? Like, who knows what it is? So we're trying to figure out like what that setup plan is right now so that when we get to Europe, we're set. But that's kind of what makes me excited. Like, I just love being in Europe.
Amazing. Any particular country?
He has his countries, and I, of course, want to go back to Italy, but I'm open to wherever. If I could move every year, I would just try something new.
For sure. And the beautiful thing about Europe is you really can travel between places with so much more ease.
It's a quick train ride,
Oh,
cheap flight.
you could do the overnight train and just go to sleep and wake up in a new country. Like,
I
it's
know.
fabulous.
It's so cool. I know. Again, romanticizing.
Yeah. No, I'm here for it every day. Find all the ways to find pleasure in your life, find all the ways to romanticize it, and we'll figure it out as it goes. Sweet.
Exactly. Wow, that's funny.
Well, I'm curious as we kind of get ready to kind of close up things and also just hear a couple more things from you. I'm curious of like, obviously, we can have the big dreams, we can have the romanticized aspects of life, and because we all have them, right? Like, I would freaking love to go move over to Italy. That'd be so freaking fun. I still need to get there. I haven't actually been there yet. Maurice and I have said like need to take a trip together because her family's from Italy, so we just kind of need to do it.
Yeah.
So in just the world of like you have this life that you want to live, however, you still may be in this like black heart stage, and you may be going through something that is just hard, and you're healing through it while still trying to like live a life that has meaning, that has purpose, that has a romanticized aspect of it. If you know of somebody that would be sitting in that place from your version of not sugarcoating it while also being, and I obviously know it's like you can be kind and strong at the same time, right? So like, what would you tell somebody if they're in that space and they want to move through something to be able to really encourage them? What would you tell them?
Well, if we're talking about the seat of being in a terrible relationship, don't let him win. You're in charge. Go do it. You can do it. I promise you can do it. And we all know it's not easy. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of tears. It's a lot of knee scrapes, but it's so worth it. And I can't stress that enough because people who haven't been there or they don't have the courage or they just like want to stay stagnant or small, once they have a small win, it gives them the confidence to move forward. And that's all you need is like, let those compound, those small wins, so that you can eventually go from having a black heart to a full red heart. And it's going to take time. It's kind of like everything we said, like there's no timeline for it, but you have to keep putting in the work and you will be rewarded. And if you got to find new friends, you have to find new relationship, you have to get a new job, whatever it is to change your life to make sure that you're in charge of you and you're taking care of yourself. Because as much as you want other people to take care of you, nobody's going to take care of you. Even your parents, like they want you to be successful, but not too successful because they don't want you to forget about them. They still want to make sure you call. They don't want you to move away. Right. So it's like everybody wants you in their convenience. They don't want you to go do what you want to do, which is definitely something I've experienced with people like giving me a hard time about moving away and starting a business in another city. And it's like, wow, dude, like this isn't your space to say that.
Mm.
And so I just want you to have confidence that it will all work out. Feel free to take my mantra. I'm a cat. I will always land on my feet. And that makes it so much easier when you know that I have faith and I believe and I trust that no matter what happens to me, I'm always going to be okay.
I love that. It is hard though. Sometimes it's like people want you in their version and dream of you, and that's not your own. And especially when it comes to family, that is excruciatingly challenging sometimes, especially if you do have a close unit. Because then you realize that there are things you're going to need to set kind of guidelines around or frameworks around. And then that can even just bring up more shame and guilt and familial like attachments and emotional, depth. And at the end of the day, though, you are not in control of their decisions or what they choose to do in their life. And if everyone else only made decisions based off of what everyone else wanted of them, we would have no individuals with individuality and lives to tell incredible stories. So yeah, it's one of the more challenging things, but it's also, I think, a wonderful and a great reminder to share with people that at the end of the day, like our happiness is something that we have to cultivate our own. And to be able to also share that with others, it has to come from here, not borrowed from somewhere else. And so what a beautiful way to be able to do that. And obviously you being in your relationship that you are now and exploring life in the way that you want to and dreaming for what that looks like. And then also just navigating. It's not like you get through one struggle and then all of a sudden it's smooth sailing in clear waters. Like it just shows up on a different day looking like something else. It's really fair. You're just constantly building the grit. So when I want our audience to know exactly, okay, so anyone in Miami also make sure you're listening up. But tell us exactly, give us that succinct, like, what is it that you do? How can people reach out to you and when do they need your services?
All right. I sell residential real estate. I do dabble in commercial, but mainly residential real estate in Scottsdale, Arizona and Miami, Florida. And all of my handles are Lauren M. House. My email is lauren@laurenmhouse.com, making it super simple. And it's really like if you are going to be buying, selling, or investing is a place I can step in and help. So thank you for letting me share that.
Of course, which also shameless plug, you wrote a book.
Oh, yeah. Yes, a quote book. Quotes are near and dear to my heart just because I have them all handwritten and cut out on my mirrors and they're around my house and they're up here on my whiteboard right now. And it just is like, I feel like what you need to see pops out on the day that you need to see it and you take it with you. And it's just like that special soft reminder that whatever it is, like, again, you're going to get through it no matter how hard, big or small it is. And yeah, I love quotes. So I made a quote book. Like 102, I think. 102
Yeah,
quotes.
102 quotes. Entrepreneurial Insight, 102 quotes to shape your path with perspective. We're going to link it in the show notes. So anyone that needs that little extra reminder, I also love quotes. So they'll be able to get that. What's your favorite one you would want to leave our audience with?
Favorite one is my own quote. The party is always there. And that's what I would say when I was transitioning out of party girl, going into business person mode. Because it's like you feel like you're missing out on that social fun, getting dressed up and taking pictures and like meeting people. But it's like Groundhog's Day. Like you're just living in this place in a bar. And maybe I'm trying so hard to like bring her back just a little bit. And it's like I just can't find it. But it's just a good reminder that like I would rather be working on my future and making money and building my empire and honing my skills instead of just wasting time in a bar.
Yeah. We got dreams to build and brilliance to activate, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. It's a gift worth sharing with the world. Which thank you so much for sharing your story, for going into that place with us. I know this was something that we did new and shared about on a public platform. So we just appreciate you showing up in this way and sharing your heart and having people get a glimpse of the fact that it can look great, but it doesn't mean that we're not still healing and growing and evolving, and that can continue to happen over a period of time. And it's nothing to be ashamed of, and it's nothing to be afraid of. But what we resist, right, always persists. And so we just have to lean in and take those moments to really connect with ourselves. And that will allow us to continue to open up a realm of possibilities that we don't even know are on the other side yet, but are just gifts that the universe is waiting to bless us with. So thank you for blessing us and our audience with your heart and your knowledge and your sweet, fun, truthful, tough love and all the candor. And we so appreciate you today, Lauren. Thank you.
Thank you both. I appreciate it.